Christopher Sweat, Great Stack Media. We're sitting here in Chicago at an undisclosed location.
Yes.
But you can see what we got on the wall. You can see the scene. I'm chilling here with Miss Juli and Nino.
Sure.
Y'all have probably seen them on the streets with PSL, and maybe we could talk. Maybe y'all could just introduce yourselves, and then we could just step into the discussion.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Juli. I use they and she pronouns. I'm from Omaha, Nebraska originally, where Malcolm X is from, where Harry Haywood is from, Ed Poindexter, all them. And I'm here in Chicago. I'm a musician. I'm an organizer, union organizer, many things. And yeah, I'm a member of the PSL. So.
Yeah, you know, he, they pronouns, originally from Brooklyn, now live in Chicago. I teach middle school on the west side. I've been with the PSL for about 12 years. And I also organize with the Jericho movement, which is a movement to free political prisoners. And I'm also the Minister of Information at Healthy Hood. And also organize with Black Men Build. And yeah, I'm glad to be here.
That's awesome. And we'll treat the camera as like fourth person, but we don't have to talk to them that often.
Okay.
But we can look over there when you feel you got to drive a point home.
Okay.
One thing, because I haven't been on the camera with you guys like talking.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people probably don't know that I come to a lot of your guys' events.
Yeah.
Y'all lead some of the like best study and discourses in the city. I'm just saying.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. So I've had. It's very nice that y'all include the community. I get to come just as I am. We'll read like Sada Shakur.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of reads.
Yeah.
And then it's like open mic to discuss it.
Yeah.
And it's like very cool that y'all provide that space.
Right.
And then Zach, who hopefully will watch this, he put me on to Socialist Reconstruction.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty good.
Cool.
And, you know, I feel like no matter where we're all at in our journeys or what political perspectives we have, there's always more to learn.
Facts.
Yeah, and so I wanted to sit down with you guys because I've been out there with y'all on the ground for probably like a year and a half.
Yeah.
It's like the first time we're sitting down.
Yeah.
And Julie, I think you kind of had a place where you might want to start, and we can start philosophical, but then at some point we should definitely kind of get into what you guys are experiencing on the ground and kind of like your priorities and what your focus is. But we could definitely start. I mean, I've got days for political philosophies and just thinking and opinions.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could definitely start there. We were talking about like the two strands of America and the kind of difference between that and Venezuela. And you'll frame it better than me, Julie, but...
Well, I would just think of, you know, why is it called in Venezuela, why is it called the Bolivarian Revolution? It's because, you know, that movement identifies with Simon Bolivar, identifies with the movement to abolish slavery in Latin America. And it's just, for me, it just means a lot, like, to be able to claim your roots. Like, this is how far our roots go. This is who we are. In history, this is where we see ourselves. This is who we identify with. And I think it's really important. You know, if we want to fight for a future that actually is one we want to be in, you know, we have to choose, like, where in history are we as well? Where in history do we see ourselves? As part of a reference. But, you know, here in the city in Chicago, you know, of course, like, war has been declared on Chicago. I feel like, you know, like, almost like on the front end and on the back end with, you know, ICE knocking down doors, literally knocking doors off of hinges, tear gassing people, tear gassing the police. We're also seeing like a fiscal crisis quietly in the back end, you know, funding for CPS, funding for public transit, all types of things, you know, coming under attack as well. So in the midst of it all, I think what's important, at least to me, and I think like the movement that we're building is in the midst of the chaos, where is our independent, working class, grassroots place we can go to process what just happened, to plan for the next time we go out there. So that's why, you know, we're, you know, building the Party for Socialism and Liberation as like an independent working class party, so we can sort of articulate our roots as a working class movement, as a Black liberation movement, as a queer liberation movement, but also, you not just talk, but we actually need physical space. So, that's part of why, we put in a lot of work to build up the Liberation Center and also have like other organizations get to have meetings there, have events there. Just people in the community do fundraising and stuff like that. So, really, I think fighting for the independent thinking and acting and planning and scheming, really, I think just brings hopefully a lot of peace, a lot of ease, a lot of clarity in the midst of like all this chaos in Chicago right now.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of that, and I think the point of Venezuela, I think, is important because, right now the United States is under the Trump administration is carrying out illegal, straight up bombings of fishermen.
Yeah.
My family's from Jamaica, and we just got hit by Hurricane. Was it Melissa?
Sure.
Melissa.
Yeah.
Melissa.
And you see Venezuela sent 20 tons. What's the United States doing?
Right.
But the point about the Bolivarian Revolution. I mean, they're national. Like in the United States, there are heroes of the bottom of society, with the Malcolm X's, the Assad Shakurs, the Huey P. Newtons, the John Browns, the Harriet Tubmans, and we're seeing that be erased right now, right, by the Trump administration.
Sure.
Because there's either like the co-opting of these people or the erasure. Like Marcus Garvey. He's a Jamaican national hero, but in Jamaica they don't follow any of his philosophies.
Okay.
Right? Dr. King. U.S. even Israel would say, Dr. King, he would have stood with us, but they don't look at any of his philosophies. So
Sure.
I think for us, it's important for us to not be doomers,
Okay.
right? Like when you look at the history of this country, it's a history of just class struggle
Sure.
from day one. Like the labor movement. We have kids in factories, kids not going back into factories. We have one of the most violent labor histories in like the developed world,
Sure.
but most people don't even know about it.
Sure.
So I think for us, I think the connection to the point that you were thinking about, when revolutions, they have to reach back into like the history of where they're trying to make a revolution, because we're not in Venezuela, we're not in China, we're not in Russia, we're not in Cuba. We have to make an American revolution based off of the history of this country. So, in the PSL, we study these histories to learn from them,
Yep.
to build on them, and to deepen them, right? Because some of these things are still going on. Like slavery was abolished after the Civil War, but yet we still have new forms of slavery,
Sure.
So our starting point is always our history.
Sure.
So yeah.
What have you guys been focused on lately, or like just for people that may not be on the ground or even in the movement, and they're like looking to Chicago right now and they're trying to understand what is happening out here? What have you been focused on, and like what is happening from each of your perspectives?
Well, I think something that people do feel but also don't feel is that, the whole country is watching. Like when we saw the way ICE and the Marines terrorized LA in a very like militaristic fashion, everybody was watching and wanted to know every detail. What worked, what didn't work. How do we record ICE? How do we follow them? How do we organize? Because everybody was like, well, we could be next. Is it going to be Memphis? Is it going to be Portland? Will it be Chicago? And right now it's Chicago. And so I think with the whole country watching us, there's also the question we can
The whole world.
The whole world.
Truly.
Yeah, it's like we can feel pressure and we can feel nervous, or we can say, well, the whole world is watching, so what do we have to say?
Yeah.
And I think part of what we have to say right now is that ICE can be defeated, that the Trump administration can be defeated, that the billionaire class makes mistakes and has not really won over like the hearts and minds of masses of people. Like in fact, like it's quite opposite. Like the struggle is becoming more accepted, more legitimate. It's like a real place to go. It's becoming more viable, I think, like a viable alternative to like the Democratic Party, the Republican Party is, okay, you're at the Liberation Center or you're in the struggle. That's what we want to do. Yeah, I'll just end with that.
Yeah, I think one thing we've been focusing on the party is, well, for one, actually, I would say building the ship before the storm.
Facts.
Okay.
You know, I mean, everybody knows the Bible story about Noah's Ark, right?
Yeah.
Noah's building this ark, and people are like, man, you're crazy, bro.
Sure.
Like, there's no storm coming. You know, you're a crazy man.
Yeah.
And then when the storm comes, they're like, oh my God, no, open up, like, help. And we know the storm is coming because we've seen the signs, right? The signs go back to the origins of this so-called migrant crisis,
Yep.
which it wasn't really a crisis of migration because migration is natural. It was a crisis of imperialism. And it was also a manufactured crisis because Governor Greg Abbott of Texas chose to use federal funds to human traffic Venezuelan migrants and refugees to Denver, New York City, Los Angeles, Boston,
Yeah.
and Chicago as a way to break the back of the sanctuary movement. It's like, oh, well, y'all want to be sanctuaries and support migrants? Well, here you go. So
Sure.
instead of using federal funds to actually take care of refugees under international law, U.S. law even, right? So this was the beginning of the crisis, right?
Yeah.
Well, not the beginning, but it was a precipitating moment. So for us, when we see...
You know, that is such a good point that doesn't get discussed in this immigration discussion enough. Is that, obviously I'm not a desk media guy, so everyone sees me out on the ground, which there is some shared burden that we carry being out there at different times. So I can speak on this unlike some of these media jocks. CPB and ICE and all them, they wouldn't even be here if Abbott didn't send that large caravan in these different cities. So it's almost like Abbott, maybe he didn't think about this before the fact, but it's almost like they created a weapon and they used human bodies, like to not only justify outrageous policy, but even, I just wanted to point out like that.
I mean, they're using these Venezuelans as pawns because on the one hand...
To invade our cities.
Yeah, they like, oh, come on in. And then they're like, oh, actually, now we're going to scapegoat you. And, they just ruled yesterday that 250,000 Venezuelans no longer have temporary protected status, which, you have people in Miami who are like, I was in this country for 6 years, I built a business, now I have to pick up and go back to Venezuela. So, it's a crisis that's manufactured. The one thing we're focusing on is, building a resistance that is truly independent, because we saw the resistance the first time to Trump, right? Those first couple of days when Trump tried to do the Muslim ban.
Yeah.
And what did people do? They didn't wait for the Democrats. They went to airports and they occupied the airports and they were like, over our dead fucking bodies.
Yeah.
And then the Democratic Party, they co-opted the resistance and said, we have to, Trump is a Russian agent. That's what, he's not really American enough. And we saw what that resistance led. It led to capitulation. It led to Joe Biden's sleepy ass, right?
Yeah.
So now it's a different situation, right? The Democrats, they're not even fighting back. They had to regather themselves. And in that time, we focused on building the ship before the storm. So the ship is a united front, right? It's religious groups, labor groups, environmental groups, community organizations, artists. So what we've been focusing on is how do we facilitate people transforming themselves into activists, into organizers.
Okay.
Because people always say, oh, well, I'm not an activist. Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. But it's you can get involved in many different ways. Right? You don't have to be on the front lines all the time, but you have to be on some line. You know? So we want to facilitate, foster, cultivate more resistance, because we say as a party, political parties don't make the revolution. The people make the revolution. Our role is to facilitate, to help to guide, to nudge, to train, develop, right? So that's our focus now is deepening our resistance, broadening it, rooting it, helping to bring new people into activity, into consciousness. And we've been having these organizing meetings, protests, art builds, doing rapid response. We've been doing everything and anything we can to move things forward, but also rooting it in history. And it's wait a minute, why are there so many Venezuelans here? Wait a minute, immigration, they say come to this country legally. Well, what is actually the legal way? Because they've closed every legal avenue. You know? The only ways left are to actually just cross a border. But yeah, like we say, we got to fight, but we also got to think about why we're fighting and how we're fighting, and the people who are thinking, we got to get them to fight, you know,
Sure.
and bridge that gap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then just like throwing this out there ad hoc, just off the top. I don't have a PhD, but I'm pretty sure that I get a lot of respect from the social political scientists in different facets, and I have a technical background. So I did start my career in tech.
Okay.
I come from a working class family. I actually just finished my degree.
Wow,
Nice.
good for
Like,
you.
I got my diploma last month.
Mashallah.
Hell yeah.
I'm 37.
Right on.
Right on.
Okay, so I understand the struggle.
That's what's up.
But I think like through like looking at political and social movements around the world, you know, because we again have this weird way of framing the struggle here, whereas like people have always struggled against that central power, even in the church or beyond the church, or there's, you know, whatever the central authority was, people have always struggled against it. Why do you think that gets framed in such a negative light, like in our communities and our culture by certain people?
Struggling against the powers that be.
Yeah. Is it, even though like everyone knows it's necessary, like across all
I'll say one
cultures, all lines, all religions, everyone knows it's necessary, but it does get framed in a bad light occasionally.
Yeah, I think, you know, if anyone ever gets the chance to be at a protest in another country in the global south, like take that opportunity.
Okay.
And, you know, Lenin said that revolutions are a festival of the oppressed. And, for example, in Brazil, like the drumline culture and the drumming culture in Brazil is so thorough and deep. And people know all these different moves, and it's coordinated, it's organized, it's popular. And then come to find out that in Brazil and these Portuguese colonies, during slavery, the drum was never banned. So there has actually been direct continuity between the social movements right now in Brazil and like really the drumming like history from the continent of Africa. So that's like hundreds of years of continuity of like organizing and resistance. And I think on some level, you know, there's been a break in continuity in like our struggle here in the United States. I think the struggle for socialism has been, you know, suppressed so many times. I think, you know, when it comes to the social movement, people, I mean, we've been trained to have our first thought be repression, be, you know, going to jail, surveillance. And that's been by design really since like, I mean, honestly, since the beginning, but really I think we all feel it from like World War II, the 60s, the Civil Rights era. A lot of people say, we just need to do what the Panthers did. And then immediately all they can remember is like the breakfast program and the repression they face.
Wow.
And so I think like, yeah.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I think part of it is like a lack of continuity. And I think, again, that's part of the role of our party is, you know, any political party is supposed to be the collective memory of a sector of society. You know, we're a working class party, so we're trying to build a party that can house the collective memory of the working class in this country. And that also comes with, you know, the drumming traditions, the culture, the popular culture, the festival of resistance that has come with it all this time. And I think that's something that we're trying to restore, actually, and refound is this excitement to struggle. Actually, you know, and I think it became really popular, you know, during like the pandemic or like in the midst of the George Floyd uprising. It's, all right, everyone, go home and imagine a better world. Go home and rest. Everyone chill out and dispel this crowd. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I think we've been, on some level, I think the ruling class has intervened to let us think that organizing, staying up at night, reading, studying, meeting with your people is more work. Like it's another job, like it's another shift, like it's almost like more slavery.
Okay.
But we're actually trying to make it clear that, you know, when you are in the struggle, that is the only time you really will truly feel free. Yeah, I think, I'll just leave it there.
Okay.
I mean, you said you just got your degree.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would say that we are ideologically dominated, right?
Yeah.
The people who own the means of production, of society, they also own and control the means of ideological production.
Yeah.
And capitalism creates the type of psyche and consciousness of a good slave.
Sure.
Right? So
Yeah.
I think people are just doing what they've been programmed to do, is to be good slaves. And on the same point, during the times of slavery, there was a mental diagnosis that the slave masters concocted. Whenever a slave would run away too much or too many times, they called it drapetomania.
Okay.
And drapetomania essentially meant that, well, these slaves must be sick in the head. They must be mentally ill because they keep on running away. And what could be better than slavery? And even so much so that other slaves would say that. They're like, what? You're going to run away?
You're crazy.
You must be crazy.
Sure.
Right? And under the modern capitalist system of wage slavery, when people think about, well, like, how do I imagine a world where I'm not just like a cog in a machine,
Yeah.
but my whole life I've been trained to be like, so, they're going up against their own, not even their own thinking, the capitalist system's thinking in their head.
Sure.
Right? So I think people are conditioned, but I think they spontaneously resist, and even in sometimes their resistance is characterized by their indoctrination. They're like, well, we just need to buy back the black. We just need to be the capitalists. We just need to just create more nonprofits, right?
Sure.
In the same way that our people think about like, oh, public safety equals more police.
Yeah.
Public safety equals more police. Public safety equals more police. Public safety, like this is just drilled into their head. So when they hear things like defund the police, they may think like, oh, that means less safety. And when you actually ask them, well, do you think that 50% of every major city's budget should go towards the police? Oh, hell no.
Right.
But that's literally what every city is. Every city is 3 police officers in a trench coat, basically. So I think, the characterization of the struggle is as like negative or pointless. I think it's, due to ideological domination. But also, I think like a lack of continuity. Because if Fred Hampton said, if you dare to struggle, you dare to win. And if you don't dare to struggle, you don't deserve to win.
Okay.
Right? Like he says, socialism means the people. And if you're afraid of socialism, you're afraid of yourself. And I know a lot of people are afraid of themselves. The therapists and the healers and those type of people will call it shadow work.
Okay.
And a lot of people have a lot of shadow work to do because that shadow work, the shadow work is the capitalist in your head. It's the police officer in your head.
Yeah.
The slave master in your head. You're like, well, what's better than capitalism? Like, I can't even imagine it.
Sure.
And the fact that you can't imagine it is the point.
Yeah.
So I think
that's fair.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just really briefly, I remember I was talking to somebody about joining the party actually, and we were talking about reparations and what that means. And a lot of that wealth exists not just in like cash money, but in the actual like economic structure of this country. Like the banks, the financial structure was like made possible by profits from slavery. So paying reparations would mean tearing that all apart and splitting it up and collectivizing it. And then there's also the conversation of like, building an aspect of government, a Congress of nationally oppressed peoples who can come up with programs to struggle against the lines of racism that have been sown in this country for so long. And we're talking about this vision, right, for a socialist future, a third reconstruction in this country and for a revolution. And he's like, well, like who says that's okay? Like, what do you mean? Like, who told you that was a good idea? Like, where did you get permission? And it's like, nigga, us.
Yeah.
like the black, like when it comes from the experience of masses of laboring people in the black liberation struggle. And that, like, we have to claim that as our authority and not like wait for a manager to come over and look at our work and check it and then say it's good. Or wait for Obama to approve of it before it's good.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is like when it comes to, like killing the, like the overseer in your head or like the, struggling against the capitalists in your head, it's also a struggle for like, validating your own experience and your own interests as a people.
Okay. That's fascinating. And it's all, you're giving me so many things to think about. So I'm like, I don't want to rush. Yeah, it's like the institutions shape how we see the world, but it's through a filter.
Yeah.
And then it's like, who's building and designing that filter? And that's usually like a way to reinforce authority.
Of course.
But not, like you're saying, like not necessarily like free thinking or agency of self or like the freedom of expression.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because then in our country at least we were told that like our freedoms are the things that are baked into the filter. And then we see how the filter applies itself to society. In my neighborhood, I live in Streeterville, so by like Navy Pier. This is Chicago's 18th district. They call it near north. I'm in the 1834 beat. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just 2 blocks south of Michigan Avenue.
Okay.
I just seen a report that came out that basically said police stopped over 179 groups of black men. I witnessed a few of these stops too, by the way, and I'll tell you about that really quick because I think this ties into some of what we're talking about here. So the neighborhood was the alderman in my neighborhood, Brian Hopkins, drove the collective action in the city hall that came up with the bill that was supposed to get the snap curfew. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like the elites in my neighborhood were pushing hard for that bill. I obviously don't agree with that bill. The only thing that saved that bill from coming through was Brandon Johnson's veto. But the point was that there are different dimensions of crime in any retail district. So we know we've got the Magnificent Mile, whatever. Some of the crime, I mean, it's not the only area that has crime, but the neighborhood would act like it is. Okay. And so an independent report, and I'll have to pull it up or send it, but it said that the police targeted, about 179 groups, clusters of black men driving that either like had a tire on the crosswalk. I've never been stopped for that. I don't know if you guys have. No. Even though you could. Okay, maybe the car was parked just a little bit off the curb, or what bullshit infractions. It looked like a seatbelt was off, and then they would use that to then violate the Fourth Amendment. And what I watched, I heard the cops listen. I'm in my crib. I hear the police rolling down Ohio Street, hauling ass. I'm like, boy, tell me what's going on in the neighborhood. It can't be that serious.
Like, be for real.
So being out with y'all has informed me of a lot more on my surroundings. So I go downstairs because I'm like, what's going on? You got like 30 police just right there on Ohio Street and McClurg.
Yeah.
And you got 3 brothers standing outside their car. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then the police had patted them down and looked in their vehicle and then let them go. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, hold up. Why did you stop them? And then what did you say to get into their pockets and into their vehicle?
Violated their...
Do you see what I'm saying? And so the system would say like these abuses are justified in the name of public safety. And that some communities who might be more vulnerable to that abuse, we're fine with that. And I kind of think that like is a simple example of some of what you guys are talking about in terms of the struggle. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was stopped by Chicago police. I was on my phone outside of a train station near DePaul after a Palestine protest.
Red light.
Probably orange or brown or something.
Okay.
And I was on my phone outside for maybe 30 minutes, talking to someone. And I get on the train and, I see like a bunch of cops start like rushing towards me.
Really?
Yeah, and they're like, we got a report that someone said that there's like a black man with like a gun on the train with military fatigue like overalls. And I have a military fatigue overalls, and I'm like, really? Like, but I mean, I used to do cop watch in New York City.
Okay.
And, they always teach us to interact with the police like you're interacting with like a wild animal.
Sure.
Like no sudden movements, like
Yep.
you know, and you know the police end up handcuffing me.
Really?
Know, yeah, on the subway platform, and they're like, "Oh well, you know, do you have a gun?" And I'm like,
This is New York?
"No, this is Chicago."
Oh, shoot.
You know, so I'm not saying anything, and then like going through my bag. Well, actually, first they handcuff me, and then they're like, "Take off your bag," and I'm like, "Well, sir,
My hands.
how?"
Yeah.
So then they unhandcuff me. I take off my bag, then they rehandcuff me, and they're searching through my bag, and they're like, "All right, well, check his jacket," and they're like, "Take off your jacket," and I'm like, "Well, I'm handcuffed."
Oh my
So then I take off they unhandcuff me, and then I take off my jacket, and then they rehandcuff me, and then they're like searching through my jacket, still going through my bag, and they're like, "Well, do you have anything that looks like a gun?" And I'm like, "I know my rights. I'm not gonna say anything."
And please,
because,
anyway, what kind of question is that?
yeah, you know. But the point being, I was like, wow, like literally, probably some white person can just be like, I think there's a black person doing something, and boom, and it really demonstrates the just the veil of like democracy and equal rights and what is it, innocent until proven guilty, right? Because we live in a racist colonial society. Like it makes you empathize with people like Palestinians. We're like, this is a checkpoint. This is unjustified.
Yep.
It's just because of what I look like and
Right.
your projection of what you think black men are. But to the point of like crime, it's like, what is the roots of so-called crime? It was a crime to read if you're a black person. It was a crime to marry across races.
Yeah.
So many things were crimes that are now just not crimes, right? It was a crime to smoke weed. Now you could just go buy it. So crime is socially defined, right? It's not a crime to starve 42 million people in America and cut off their SNAP benefits.
Yeah.
But it's a crime to steal from to take food that's there that likely will be, thrown out.
Right.
And we know for a fact, as socialists, and even just not as socialists, the basic economic data shows the United States and Canada, they throw out 40% of the food that they produce. So half the food that exists is just going to waste.
Yeah.
Right? But, when we talk about why people committing crime, why would someone, steal? Well, what condition are they in?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's 1,001 things that happen before a crime.
Right.
Right? Like, we have to look at, well, what were the precipitating factors, right? Like, does this person have, like, a job with a living wage? Because if you have a job with a living wage, you don't need to steal because you have money.
Right.
Right? Like, you can just buy the things you need. But when you're deprived of that systematically, and we see the Washington Post with all these jobs reports about massive layoffs, it's like, yeah, that's where the crime comes in. Because people see the opulence, and they're like, I'm told that I'm supposed to be, this is supposed to be mine because America, and, I'm supposed to have these things. But then you can't even get a job. And if you do get a job, it's like Uber or McDonald's or a service. So then, it's why people try to cosplay as rich folk.
Yeah.
Like going to Dubai, and I'm traveling because we're told that freedom means to have more money as opposed to having like actual security, like food, housing, healthcare. Because if you're content, you don't need to like commit so-called crime, which is again socially defined. That's what that story and example makes me think of. The times where police have stopped me in Chicago and New York and Boston over just BS. And just the fragility. Some white person can just be like, yeah, there he is. I don't have any evidence. He's black. He looks scary. I think he has a gun. And then boom, I'm handcuffed. I'm like, what?
Right.
What happened to
and the police?
due process?
The police know this.
Yeah.
They know that when they receive a report of an individual, they have a racial marker on there, and it gives them this gray area to be assertive against our will if we don't know how to defend ourselves. I haven't been targeted by the Chicago police yet. But I did get targeted many times growing up in Colorado where I grew up. Okay, even as like recently as like 2 weeks before leaving Colorado to move to Chicago. And those cases would always be like, there's some domestic violence incident. And surely I'm like not even associated.
Yeah.
It didn't even matter if I was in a nice car. Okay. This one officer pulled up to my car one time when I was fixing my contact in like a parking lot in the middle of the day in a neighborhood that I lived in for like 7 years. And I used to have direct confrontations with the police, like one-to-one. I decided that's not constructive a couple of years back. But he asked me, he was like, so, who are you picking up? And I'm like, boy.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the fuck did you say? And I put my hands on the window because I'm gonna snap. Because I don't tolerate that kind of shit. And he was like, who are you picking up? And I was like, does this look like a fucking Uber, my man? But the fact that I even have to take that level of defense because like his first statement is a false accusation.
Yeah.
And like, our skin doesn't mean that we don't have knowledge, education, resources, communities, friends, family, so these are just like simple, obvious things that are well documented that other America kind of still is in denial of. So I just want people that like maybe aren't from a left or leftist politic or maybe just trying to learn more about PSL to be able to kind of relate to like, okay, that, this maybe brings a little bit of the brain trash out the window and then,
Everybody thinks it's bogus until it happens to them.
Right.
It's like, oh, the police would never, oh, they did it to me. Can you believe it? And they're shocked. In Jamaica, there's a saying, they say, those who don't hear will feel.
Okay.
It's like, all right, well, we could tell you that the police are racist and they'll profile you and violate your rights. It's like, oh, but my brother's a cop. It's like, okay. All right.
Ask him about the profile.
Exactly.
He'll tell you.
Yeah. And then when it happens, they're like, can you believe?
Yes,
I can believe it. I've been telling you.
Well, and so these norms, just not even just policing, but these norms create these sort of structural disadvantages for societies.
Yeah.
But I think what y'all do, and not to put the national tie on it, but what y'all do for our country, our people, and obviously other people around the world, is you inform them on how to improve the conditions, whether it be for themselves, their communities. Real quick, and we'll wrap, because again, I want to talk to you guys again. But like, is there ways that you think people can kind of like deal with the situation that we're in short run? Because obviously yesterday was maybe one of the most disruptive days in the city, but we're seeing waves of this.
Yeah.
It's like any like tips, tactics, knowledge, insights that you could share to the movement.
There's one thing I wanted to say about like crime and the police, which is like, I've been booked before, and it's such a like redundant, lengthy, apathetic process that like wastes everybody's time. And I think of how much money is actually spent. Like most prisons, for example, like they don't actually make a profit.
Sure.
And I think of, why spend all this money? Like, CPD, they actually don't, like, even really have a budget. Like, they have a blank check. It just came out in the news that over the past 5 years, they've actually overspent by a total of $501 million. So, like, what, like why? Why spend all this money to get 30 cops down to, like, search and frisk 3 black men to not even arrest them? And it's actually, like, going through that process of going through your pockets, taking off your clothes, restraining your body, going through all your stuff is humiliating, and that's the purpose.
Yeah.
The purpose is to humiliate you, and it's all under the guise of like, well, you have these rights, and like as a state, we have these obligations, and da-da-da. It's like this theater that's actually just covering a system designed to humiliate black people and designed to humiliate the oppressed and designed to humiliate working people. I think like, so something that I think about too is how it had come out for a time that like you could be on an FBI watch list for being a black person with too many books.
Interesting.
For too many books about like black liberation or like a poster of Malcolm X on your wall. You could be labeled like a black radical, a black nationalist extremist.
Black identity
extremist.
Never a white identity extremist.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And it also strikes me that a huge, like a disproportionate amount, like a huge amount of Latinos in this country who are in prison actually identify as Chicano, which is a political identity with a labor struggle and with a struggle for immigrant rights in this country.
Sure.
So it's people who are politically identifying with their roots, claiming their history, and also are clear on like a future that they want for their people. are being targeted and are specifically being humiliated by like this policing system, by like the prison system, and I think that's also that it's part of the nature of our struggle is um, fighting for dignity and fighting for a name. Um, Black people had to fight to be known as Black people.
Yeah.
It was only slurs up until maybe Negro, and that still didn't really
Sure.
capture it. So I think that
That's fascinating.
there's even, for example, just my experience as a queer person. I used to get in fights a lot in school because people would try me, and I had to like prove myself. I had to earn the right to like not be harassed by fighting.
Okay.
No one else had to earn that. If you were straight or you were masculine or whatever, it was already like, oh, I don't know, I might catch some hands. There was just a level of respect, and I was tested.
Okay.
And I was before I was identifying as genderqueer, going by Juli, this and that. It was, oh, you're feminine, oh, that's gay, you're a fairy, this and that. But then now that I'm out, now it's like, oh, well, actually you're masculine, and actually, you're really a man, and actually this and that. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Where was this when, I thought I needed it when I was, a child?
Yep.
And I think, and part of it, the point is actually, like, for you to just not have control over the narrative of who you are as a queer person.
Okay.
That's the point. It's not one or the other. It's for you to not have power and for the oppressor to have power. And I think that's playing a role in the ways that ICE, that the police. I mean, ICE went to 7500 South Shore Drive and knocked every single door off the hinges
Yeah.
and left.
Yeah.
They said you don't get front doors in your own home. That was the purpose, to intimidate, to harass, to terrorize. So I just really want to emphasize that's an element of the oppression we're facing.
And on those doors that got knocked off really quick, somebody took interviews that PSL folks did down in the neighborhood and put them on some of my video footage.
Oh wow!
They're super
Wait,
powerful.
yo, that's actually
No, it's so
that's
powerful.
Really good.
I'll send them to you because
Yeah,
obviously they talked to some brothers in the community,
yeah.
but their voices and their story
Uh-huh.
combined with some of the
Wow.
ICE videos that I've captured.
I love that.
It was powerful to hear them, and
Yeah.
then
Wow.
you also see the weapons of state repression.
Yeah, that's
So-
amazing.
I think two things. To the point that Julie's raising, just to move on, the point is social control.
Yeah.
Because when you look at when the prison population exploded from low 100,000 to now 2 million,
Yep.
the biggest prison population in the fucking world, right? It occurred after the radical 60s and 70s,
Sure.
right? And this was a time when crime was actually going down. And the war on drugs was declared when drug use was actually not even that high,
Sure.
right? So the point of building all these prisons and beefing up the police state was not to solve crime, was
Yeah.
social control.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
they criminalized our movement. They said the
Yeah.
Black Panthers, yeah, they're criminals. These radicals, even with the Palestinians, oh, they're terrorists.
Yeah.
Right? So even now, they try to say, oh, people who are protesting ICE are terrorists.
Yeah.
So the point of state repression is not profit. Because they will
Lose
operate
money.
they'll lose money to keep you, to keep the plantation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the second point of the question, what is to be done? What hints, tips, tricks? For one, we recognize that we live in the United States of amnesia, and that there is a break in the continuity of our own radical history that we're not tapped into. Today, people who might have been revolutionaries, radicals in the 60s, now they're like, I'm going to start a nonprofit. Because, their mind has been so colonized where they're like, oh, to resist? Oh, that means to play within the lines, to form a nonprofit. So we don't have that continuity, right? Because of, the war on drugs, the crack, prison, it's wiped out a generation. Not wiped out, but it's wiped out the historical memory.
Yeah.
Where, if you were to walk into a bookstore in 1968, you could find Che Guevara, you could find Mao Zedong, you could find Frantz Fanon, and plentiful. If you go into a bookstore now, it's like Cornel West. He's like,
He's
Bell
alright.
Hooks. Academic progressives and radicals, not like people
True.
who are actually
Sponsored.
people who are not leading revolutions, but it's academicized.
Yeah.
So if you want to become a radical, you're like, well, this is what I need to do. I need to be like an academic, or I need to be like, in this professional activist type of mentality. So we live in the United States of amnesia, where we don't even remember, like Julie mentioned, a revolutionary party is supposed to be the historical memory of a working class, because there are lessons that we're learning that we're not, we're trying to as a party, that, as a class, we're not passing on.
Yeah.
Because, you look back and it's like, damn, what the hell did the civil rights movement, like, dude, did they, like, leave us anything? And all these people are, like, in the Congressional Black Caucus.
Yeah.
And now they're like right-wingers or centrists. And they're like, I remember Dr. King. I was marching with Dr. King. And it's like, well, why are you still in office?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a flex.
Yeah.
Right? So we live in the United States of amnesia. And we have to actually, like, reconnect that link that was cut from, like, the 1980s and on till now. Two is we have to recognize that, you have to get in where you fit in.
Okay.
Right? Like people say, you got to get in where you fit in. Like Dr. King said, not everybody can do everything, but everybody can do something. And oftentimes we think that revolution is like, bloodshed, and, if you've seen this movie, it's really bad. Another one battle after another, horrible movie about revolution. But it's about revolution, where they're just like toting guns and robbing banks, and it's like, what's your program? Like, what are you fighting for? What's the larger thing?
Yeah.
So, the point is that you have to find a role, find a place, right? Like, if you are a writer, write for the revolution. I mean, I teach. A lot of our people sometimes will be like, my coworkers will ask me, I need help writing my resume.
Okay.
You may think, oh, that's not revolutionary. Well, you can talk to your coworker about, like, well, actually, you're submitting an application for McDonald's, and there's like 1,000 applications, and we actually have an economy that is based off of surplus labor.
Okay.
Right? Like for every single job opening, there's 1,000 people who apply, and that benefits the system.
Yeah.
So they can say, well, if you don't want the job, there's 999 other. So that's disciplining you.
Yeah,
you can have that
true.
Conversation
True.
in the context of, like, well, let me help you write your resume. And that doesn't, on the surface of it, seem like revolutionary, but it actually is, right? Talking to your neighbors, things of that nature.
Okay.
And the last thing is, I would, in terms of, like, what do we do in this moment? I mean, we have to build a united front. It doesn't mean that we agree on everything, but we have to have unity and action, and, like, we need to unite to actually fight. Doesn't mean that we agree. It just means that we actually have to recognize we have a common enemy. We have to close ranks the same way that these fascists close ranks to get Trump into office. Because they're fighting amongst them. Some of them are Christian nationalists, secular white nationalists, outright Nazis. Like, they kind of recognize, like, well, we all might not agree, but we all agree that we hate black people, right? We all agree that we hate immigrants, right? So they agree on that.
Up.
So we got to agree on.
I hate to laugh, but it's like
It's true,
shocking
though.
how
It's
just
true.
like when you articulate it.
Yeah.
So we got to close ranks and unite the many to fight the few, right? And I mean, it's easier said than done, but I think that it is possible, because when you look at things like No King's Day,
Yeah.
which went from like 5 million to 7 million,
Sure.
and this is like just spontaneous, like, the class character of it is definitely questionable, but the fact that you had millions of people, like, we're not talking about a protest of 100,000, or, we protested for Palestine in DC, it had like 500,000.
Yeah.
This is like, what, however many more times that is. So we have to look at the kernels, the seeds of consciousness,
Yep.
and water that, because Project 2025 was decades in the making. So
Sure.
we have to also be strategic and not get so caught up in, like, what's hitting us right in the face,
Yeah.
and be able to, like, look to a broader horizon, because that's what the enemy's doing. That's what the capitalists are doing.
Sure.
That's why they're, hiding out in bunkers. Christy Nome and Gregory Bovino, I think it was just revealed that they actually have bunkers, because they know where this is going.
Yeah.
They're beefing up the
Mark
police.
Zuckerberg has a bunker.
Yeah.
But he started investing in it like a decade ago. Why? Why?
Yeah. So they think ahead, they plan ahead,
Yeah.
and I would say to anybody who's watching this, think ahead and plan ahead, but don't do it as an individual. do it as a collective, right?
Yeah.
And remember the class struggle, right? Because we're not gonna like we can't separate ourselves from this capitalist system. Like we actually have to slay the beast. Like we are inside the belly of the beast. We can't go to the beast rectum and be like, we're just gonna hang on the rectum.
Yeah.
We have to actually like slay the dragon, like defeat the enemy. Like we can't run away from it. And there's lots of escapism. You got to engage in reality.
Yeah.
So those are my hints and tips. I would say remember the class struggle. Don't fall prey to the United States of amnesia. Like history is living, and it's a connection. People say I'm talking to my ancestors. It's like go read what their ancestors wrote.
Yeah.
Actually talk to them, not like in a metaphysical way, but go read what they wrote.
Yeah.
Like connect. They wrote for a reason.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is like if you're debating people all day, you have too much time on your hands.
Okay.
I'm thinking of like. I mean, a lot of us are in a desperate situation. And when you're in a desperate situation and you really are like looking for a long-term solution to get out of it, it's like, okay, what was right about what this person said?
Okay.
And like, how can we take that idea and water it, like Nino is saying? How can we take this idea and expand on it? I think just having a mindset of let's expand on what is put forth that is true. I mean, that's what I expect of my comrades. Take everything that's useful that I say and leave behind everything that's not useful.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we need to be moving. I think debate is better between like people you already have unity with, but like, or, friends, comrades, etc. But I think I just learned over time that like people come together through like shared experience, and through like shared commitments. And I think sometimes people are fighting for reasons that you don't even know yet. So I think just be curious about like what's bringing people out there, and like if that's something you need to speak to next time. So I think just like think more about like expanding, or like how do I expand this or deepen this thought or continue this conversation rather than how can I correct this person or get them to say it in more correct words. I think right now is the time for. I think that process of purifying is collective. It's through practice, and it's through debriefing, and it's through studying. I think it's like a day-to-day, week-to-week process, and not just like, you being able to defeat someone online in like a conversation and sound more right than them. And sometimes that feels good. I think a lot of people have that era, especially.
We all had those phases.
Yeah, exactly, and it still feels good. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just want to go off on somebody online. Sometimes in person, people deserve it, but I think what else? I think also don't be scared. I think a lot we say do it scared. Do it weak. Do it before you're ready. But I think of like at a time like this where people are confronting ICE, where we're seeing aunties, families, children, all part of this struggle. Like, how can we make this struggle actually more comfortable? How can we make it more engaging, more participatory? How can we have childcare at the next event? How can we coordinate rides to the next event? How can we make it so that the people who work night shifts can come to an event, or etc. How do we bring more people into the room? I think is a way to think. And how do we look deeper into reality and not look away from it? I think of like, sometimes we talk. I mean, there is a certain level of like showing up, but right here, right now in Chicago, that kind of that's what people are doing. Everybody's showing up. So tips, tricks for like advancing it is like, debrief, think about it collectively, connect with people, get phone numbers, and actually think, okay, we showed up great. Pat yourself on the back. We won this battle, but how do we win the war? I think is a way to look at it. Something like a metaphor I'm thinking of is like when you're like learning to play like catch in baseball for the first time. Like that baseball's hard as fuck. It will leave a bruise. It's scary.
Yeah.
But you actually, if you look away, that's when you get hit.
Sure.
You need to like look at it and actually study and learn through practice. And then once that like fear is gone, once you're like, oh, like I know struggle. I get this class struggle thing. I have a good idea. I have some experience. that's when like the real art of like making a movement actually begins, is like when you're comfortable, when you have people around you to back you up, when you're on a team, so to speak. So I just like, basically there's levels to it, and let's help everybody through those levels in times like this, because I think this is a moment, like the war that's declared on Chicago is designed to get people to run away from the struggle, to stay home. People are staying home, understandably so, like hungry, because they're being terrorized out of going to the grocery store. So I think we need to actually fight directly against that. Like, how can we make people feel more confident? How can we bring food to people? Yeah, and just things like that.
The last thing I will say is, do not write off the masses.
Yeah.
When I was in 39th and Kedzie, and we were getting tear gas left and right, I mean, people came out of their homes, gave us water, saline. These like gang members bought us pizza.
Okay.
You know, like people who we write off may actually be more revolutionary than us.
Yep.
That's
Right?
true.
So like, don't, even in New York where Zohan Mamdani won, all the Trump voting districts voted for him.
Yeah.
You can't just write those people off, right? So you don't write off the masses, because it's the masses of people that make history.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like, I have a really good idea and it's going to be the genius idea. No. The millions and millions of people in this country, they're going to change and make history. You know, so we can't write them off no matter where they are, because they're in our class, you know? So, yeah.
Oh man, it's been so good to talk to you guys.
Yeah. For sure. This is dope.
So we'll definitely get to talk again, and I just love chopping with y'all.
Yeah.
And then everybody's got to stay safe out there, but it's necessary work that y'all do, and we definitely wanted to break it down.
Definitely.
On the
Thanks for reaching out to
platform,
us.
For sure.